So hello everyone, I'm happy to see you here in St. Petersburg. So just one moment. One moment. Can you please write me in the chat? Do you see me well? Because it seems to me I can't manage, so it's my first time live. It's my first time live. Ok, but sideways. Ok, but sideways. Okay. So, yeah, I'm so sorry for the first minute. Let me just check my equipment. Так. So, I'm here. I think it will be better to do like this. Guys, I'm so sorry. So yeah, so it works now. I mean, I'm very happy to see you here. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining my first live in St. Petersburg. And you can see there are so many people here in the city center. We just start our live in front of the beautiful St.Isaac Cathedral. And just please write me in the chat. So my greeting from St. Petersburg and where are you from? And I'll just tell you a few words what inspired me to make this first live from St. Petersburg. You know, I just came to the city. Hope only they can do this year. But the city is so beautiful, it's so charming that it's just worth, you know, seeing. And I hope my tours, my virtual tours, our live will be kind of the inspiration for you. So I see New Jersey, USA, so my best regards to New Jersey. And I'll just tell you what we're gonna do today. I decided to walk in the city center of St. Petersburg. We'll start from UK, Chicago. So my best regards to Chicago. So we start our walk from St. Isaac Cathedral, that's behind me. And we'll walk in the most beautiful places in the city center, because some people, they just messaged me in the chat that as far as they haven't visited St. Petersburg yet, they don't know anything about the city. So it's up to me to decide what to show you. And I decided, like, in today's live to show you the best, like the must-see places of St. Petersburg, but also the places of the beaten path. The place that usually tourists, I mean the tourists, not travelers, do not see, because I will show you some, you know, inner yards of St. Petersburg, not only the main street. And I will show you the life of the real people, so you will have a chance, you know, to look just behind the curtain. So you see, I just want to show you how many people today in St. Petersburg, because now we have a very long, I would say one of the longest holidays in Russia. So it's like May holidays. We celebrate May 1st. It used to be like a Labor Day. By the way, do you celebrate the Labor Day in your country? This holiday was very popular in the USSR time, but still we have a very long weekend. So people will have a rest like almost 10 days. Like almost 10 days. And there are so many people today I can see from all over Russia who came to visit St. Petersburg. So guys, before we started the tour, I just want to, you know, just to give you a quick introduction By the way, forgot to mention, the live, I suppose that the live will last about 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. We'll start from St. Isaac and we will finish at the church on the Spilt Blood. So I hope we'll have time, to get to the church on the Spilt Blood. So, and if you want to support my channel, I just leave the link in the description box. My channel still is not monetized, so you cannot donate money to me, so I don't get any donations, but in the description box there is the link to a PayPal. This is a PayPal of my friend, so you just be sure that this money will come directly to me, or you can support me in my page in Patreon. So I just want to start with a quick introduction about the history of St. Petersburg, in order you understand the city and in order you just was able to feel it. First of all, St. Petersburg is a very, very young city in Russia. So, Moscow, and I'm sure everyone knows about Moscow, the capital of Russia nowadays, but Moscow was founded in the 12th century. So, very old city. St. Petersburg is very young in comparison with the cities. Even in Europe, it was founded only in the 18th century and it's just 300 years old. So, and it appeared by the will of our Russian Emperor Peter the Great. So, but he wasn't saint. Be sure this guy wasn't saint at all. This guy, Peter the Great, was known as one of the cruelest emperor of Russia, but we're gonna talk about him a little bit later, probably in one of my other lives video. So, but the city is named after apostle from the Bible, Saint Peter. So, hence the name, St. Petersburg. And the capital in the 18th century was transferred from Moscow to St. Petersburg because St. Petersburg somehow was closer to Europe. It was a very European city and it has, this all European vibes. It's completely different from other Russian cities. That's why we have so many tourists from all over Russia. For people, it's so interesting. I mean, even for Russians, to come and see this architecture, to come and just feel this vibe that's so unusual for our country. And for 200 years, St. Petersburg has been the capital of the Russian Empire. That's why all the Tsars, the Russian dynasty Romanovs, constructed their beautiful palaces, aristocracy, nobility constructed their mansions and palaces. And this is the reason why St. Petersburg is supposed to be the cultural capital of Russia nowadays. After the revolution in 1918, the capital was transferred back from St. Petersburg to Moscow. And St. Petersburg is known just as, or not only just, as the cultural capital of Russia. So I think this was enough with a quick introduction of my city. If you have any questions, we can discuss them. So you can just message me in chat and I will be able to reply. And I want to show you, because I'm just standing at this square for 10 minutes almost, and just want to show you one of the most beautiful cathedrals that we have in St. Petersburg. And this cathedral is called St.Isaac Cathedral. Just look how beautiful, how grand and stunning it is. It's one of the biggest cathedral in St. Petersburg, and just imagine, I will try to to come closer to be able to show you the details. This cathedral used to be the main cathedral of the Russian Empire. What it means for us, so just imagine in the 19th century, instead of the cars that you see parked in front of St. Isaac, there were a lot of carriages of the emperor and of the noble people who came to the special services. So this cathedral appeared after the war with Napoleon, when yes, exactly, Alvin, very grand cathedral. So after the war with Napoleon, we had this war in 1812 because Russia became an empire, and St. Petersburg, the capital, it just deserved the cathedral, that like deserves the real empire. And the interesting facts about this cathedral is that it had been constructed for 40 years. Just imagine, 40 years. Probably, when I just say these numbers to people who live in Rome, it's nothing for them. Or, for example, in Barcelona, because we know Sagrada de Familia. But we have to keep in mind that Rome is an ancient city, and St. Petersburg is just, 300 years old, and 40 years for us is a very big deal. It's a funny fact that the cathedral appeared after the war with Napoleon, but the architect in charge of the construction of this cathedral was a French man. His name was Montferrand. So he came to St. Petersburg and he introduced to Russian Emperor the project of this cathedral. There is one belief why the construction of the cathedral took so long. So I'll just do like this. Why the construction of the cathedral took so long? There is a belief that the architect was predict that as far as he finished the construction of the cathedral, he gonna die. And many people, were laughing, saying like, okay, he just didn't wanna die, that's why it took him, so long. In the reality, in just in a month, once he finished the construction, he really died. But anyway, you just see behind me St.Isaac. It's so grand, it's like huge. And in the reality, it just took 5 years to reinforce the ground, because St. Petersburg was founded on a marshy soil. Like everywhere there is a marsh. Today is a very sunny and a very nice day, but it's not that typical for our city. Usually, we have about like 60 sunny days a year. 60 sunny days a year. That's why every single sunny day, matters a lot for us. So 5 years to reinforce the grounds before the construction of the cathedral. Then I'll just show you the detail. Just look at the huge columns of this cathedral. So try to show a little bit closer. Yes, look at these huge columns of the cathedral. All these columns are made of granite, and they are monolith columns, and their weight is about 200 pounds. 200 pounds, 19th century, and you will be shocked. By the way, let me do one thing. I just want to ask you the question. So you saw the column of St. Isaac, 19th century, not so much equipment as we have nowadays, but can you guess, just here in chat, how much time did it take to install the first column of St. Isaac? Like how many months, years, whatever. Can you just write me your guess about St. Isaac? So I'll be waiting, and after that I will give you reply. So I'm waiting while you're thinking. I'll just show you the cathedral. 8 years, okay. Paula, 6 months. Albin, less than 6 months. Less, Jeff, less than 6 months. 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks. No, less than 6 months, and even less than 4 weeks. So any other guessings? Any other guessing, guys? Okay. Wow. Yes, exactly. Guys, Jeff, I see you 4 hours, but it's even much less than 4 hours. So the installation of the first column took place in 1828. Your attention, 45 minutes. 45 minutes to install this huge column. I know that you are all surprised. You don't believe me. I suppose, and you are even not going to believe me. But please let me know in the comments if you'd like to make one day a tour, a live inside St. Isaac, because inside St. Isaac nowadays works as a museum, and on their exposition they have this special scaffolding that just shows how they installed the column. It was the special engineering I would say invention of the 19th century that helped to install the column. 45 minutes, 19th century, amazing. Yes, inside St. Isaac, yeah, we'll definitely make the tours, because I mean, you see how beautiful it is. I mean, wow. Wow. So another detail, you know, while giving my tours and just making my videos, I love showing people the details. In another detail and engineering invention of the time was a cupola, was the dome. I'll just show you a little bit closer the dome of St. Isaac Cathedral. You know what's interesting? Because, you know, once we watch, okay, the dome is dome, so what's interesting in the dome? But you know what's interesting, because usually for all the churches they used gilt to cover spires or steeples or domes of the churches of the cathedral with the teeny tiny, you know, like golden leaves. And once you cover something with the golden leaf, you realize, I told you about our climate, so it's raining, it's so humid, you have to recover it, you have to like repaint it again and again and again. But what did they do with St. Isaac? They used, and it's very important for us, they used a mix of gold plus mercury. I know that you are surprised hearing about the mercury, but of course nowadays we know that mercury is a poison, but at the time no one, you know, cared so much about that. This is the first thing. And the second thing, they just didn't know so much about the mercury as we know nowadays. So they covered the dome with a mixture of mercury and gold. Mercury evaporated, but gold remained. And because of this reason, St. Isaac nowadays is more than 150 years old. So I will just show you once again. 150 years old. Look at this dome. Look at this dome. They never repainted it. They never did any restorational works. Every single year before the starting of the tourist season, they just wash the dome, and it's shining as it is since the mid of the 19th century. Isn't it beautiful? So telling you about the mercury, about construction. So remember, 40 years, huge columns, heavy, you know, covering with mercury and gold. Can you guess how many people took part in the construction? You know, because St. Isaac is known in Russia as, you know, is the monument to people's labor. It's a monument to people's labor because almost 500,000 people, 500,000 people constructed St. Isaac Cathedral, and they didn't get any salary, of course, because in the middle of 19th century we still had serfdom, we still had serfs, and of course everyone, they just used the free labor of the serfs. So anyway, coming to our days, St. Isaac, they finished the construction of St. Isaac. It was used as the main cathedral of Russian Empire, and all main services like Easter service, as I showed you in one of my videos, like Christmas services, they took place here. in beautiful St. Isaac Cathedral. But you know, in history, and especially in Russian history, there is always one but. In 1917, interesting, they moved like the strength and speed of ants. Exactly, they have to. In 1917, the revolution started in Russia. Probably you have the idea of the Russian Revolution when the Bolsheviks came to power, their imperial family was killed, and the main cathedral of the Russian Empire was turned into the Museum of Atheism. Just imagine, you know, the main cathedral of the Russian Empire was turned into the Museum of Atheism. There were a lot of, you know, like icons, mosaics, but they just covered them. And in the middle of the cathedral, they installed a Foucault pendulum, you know, to show the rotation of the earth. And you know what? My parents still, I remember this pendulum, and they just asked me like, Hanna, do you still have this pendulum inside St. Isaac? Because there was a quite, you know, like a show back in the USSR days, like people came to visit St. Isaac Museum of Atheism. There was a pendulum that just showed that the earth moving around the sun and there is no God. Everyone is just going, you know, because of the physical law. But after the collapse of the USSR in 1991, St. Isaac Cathedral became a cathedral and a museum. So nowadays there are some church services that take place here, and plus we can visit it as a museum, and I can show you the beauty of the cathedral from the inside. So if you're interested, again, please. Amazing that your parents remember that. Yeah, actually, all generation, they all remember that. Leningrad at that time, St. Petersburg was called Leningrad, was like a popular destination even back then. So nowadays it works as a museum. Plus, I just want to show you one thing. You see, on top of St. Isaac, there is a colonnade. You see the people are just going around the dome at the columns, and you see here now they're just going upstairs. You can see the city, St. Petersburg, from the bird's view. But it's about like 300 steps. Just forgive me, but I'm not going like right now to climb upstairs. There is no elevator, but anyway, you can do it. You know, rather soon, today is May 1st, but May 9th, we will celebrate the Victory Day in Russia. And in St. Petersburg, it's a very, you know, special day for the city. Because of the Siege of Leningrad. Can you please just let me know in the comments if you are interested to hear the story about the siege? Because, you know, I just need some feedback. Because without your feedbacks, without your comments, I just feel like I'm going with my phone, I'm talking with my phone, and all people around me think that I'm a weird girl. So I'm waiting for your comments. Are you interested to hear about the siege? And I'll tell you how the history of St. Isaac is connected with the siege and with the Second World War. Yes, like to hear that. Of course, if you like to hear that, just take several minutes of your attention. And just believe me, I'm not telling you because I just want to, but I feel that I have to, because this real spot where I'm standing and where there are so many people, glory to the heroes, very interesting. Please keep talking to you. Please keep talking to your phone. I know, you know, I just want to show you one thing. You see, nowadays, I told you that we are just celebrating Labor Day today, 1st May. There are so many people here taking pictures, having a walk, sitting on the benches. But this spot. This spot is really connected with the Second World War, and not so many people, unfortunately, even Russian people, even the citizens of St. Petersburg know this story. So everyone knows that like Second World War started in 1939, but in Russia the war started June 22nd, 1949. So when Hitler troops immediately attacked the territory of Russia. But what they decided to do with Leningrad, the city was called Leningrad at that time. You know, they decided, I mean, Hitler decided, according to the plan Barbarossa, that they don't want to lose their soldiers, they don't want to lose their military force, and that they are going just to start the siege of the city. What does it mean? They were planning that they will surround the city in the shape of the ring in order no one can go out of the city or enter the city. They were shelling and bombing, and as far as you understand, there is no provision, there is no food, and all population of the city will die soon. So the siege of Leningrad started September 8th, 1941, and it lasted 900 days. 900 days is 3 years, and it is the longest siege in the history of mankind. The longest siege. I'll tell you the numbers, but from the numbers I think you will understand the situation. And by the way, again, please let me know in the comments. I'm planning like next week to make another live dedicated to the siege of the city, and because of the celebration of the Victory Day, and I want to show you the memorable places. I want to tell you the history of the siege. Hello Adam, nice to see you. So again, let me know please in the comments if you're interested in the live dedicated to the siege and to the war. So coming back to the story, before the siege, the population of Leningrad, Pablo, okay, Pablo, thank you. The population of the city was 2.5 million. 2.5 million the population of Leningrad. But after the siege, only 500,000 people survived. 500,000 people. Just imagine, and these numbers, you know, they are insane. When we talk about numbers, you know, we don't count people's life, you know, because statistic is statistic, and but behind each number there is a person's life and his story of life and his love, and I mean, you just understand what I'm talking about. So, and most of these people, they died not because of the shelling or bombing, they died just from starvation, because the only food they have was a piece of bread of 125 grams. So this was a piece like this, but not for the meal. This was a piece for the day. And when I call bread, I just can hardly say bread. This was like bread, because instead of I always like to hear again, Paola, yeah, you know, I'm just amazed when people tell me that they read books about Russia, they read the history. I'm just amazed with your curiosity and with your knowledge. So I stopped at the point, piece of bread, 125 grams like this for the whole day. That's it. And the Hitler, you know, I just told you that the history that I'm telling you, the story that I'm telling you is just connected with the place that I started my tour. You just imagine, you know, I'm sitting on one, what's happening? So, yeah, now it works. I'll show you St. Isaac again. I told you that the Nazis, they were shelling and bombing St. Petersburg, and they could use St. Isaac, you know, as a like a landmark. They could see that, okay, if St. Isaac is here, for example, this building is here, another building is there, because you can see this shiny dome from almost anywhere of the city. And what did people do? They just climbed on top and they covered the dome of St. Isaac Cathedral with a gray paint in order no one, you know, could see this shining dome. And after the war, then the war finished, they just washed the dome, because remember, there was a mix of mercury and gold. They just washed the dome and it shines again. Another historical place that I want to show you, and it's connected with the history of this siege, is this building with a famous Hotel Astoria. Probably you've heard the name. So it's one of the oldest hotels in the city. Yeah, it looks really nice. And I'll just tell you who stopped in this hotel, like who stayed in this hotel, like Maroon 5, Depeche Mode, Rolling Stones, Margaret Thatcher, George Bush, Madonna, and there are so many famous people. But again, coming back to the war, Hitler was so ambitious that he was planning to celebrate the victory over Leningrad exactly in this hotel. I told you that the siege started in September, and the Hitler was going to celebrate the victory over the city already in November. He ordered a banquet menu. He sent the invitation cards to the guests, but as far as you already know, there was no banquet in the hotel. But these invitation cards and the banquet menu are still kept in the museum of the Siege of Leningrad. I really want to show you. In another place, you know, we're just walking around St. Isaac, and you can see there are so many people here, you know, having a walk, taking the pictures. But this garden itself, this ground is very historical as well. So in summer there will be roses blooming here, as you saw on my cover, the cover of this video. But the thing is, when the first spring started, the first spring after the siege in 1942, the first winter in Leningrad was the toughest one. And when the first spring started, the seeds of different vegetables were delivered to the city, like a potato, carrot, cabbage, whatever. And the people, they started to use any vacant ground to plant the vegetables. And you know, St. Petersburg is completely different from Moscow, because Moscow is known like a stone, Moscow is very green, but St. Petersburg is a stone jungle. We don't have so many public parks here. You will see it during our walk here. And that's why they started to use this public park in front of St. Isaac as a vegetable garden. So, you know, what I'll try to do, you have a link to my Instagram, and today, after I come back home, after today's live, I will post the pictures to my Instagram, where I will show you how these grounds looked like during the time of the siege and during the time of the war. So, and as far as you probably noticed, I left St. Isaac area, and now I'm coming along Astoria Hotel, and we are just moving to the main square of St. Petersburg, the Palace Square, and I'm going to show you gorgeous Winter Palace and the Hermitage Museum. So I hope you are excited. But while we are going, you know, we will go along the historical street. Probably you noticed that every single building, you know, in every single street, especially in the city center, they are historical ones, and there are so many stories just behind each and every building. So while I'm just walking to the direction of the Palace Square, you can write me the questions, and I'll be helping. City center, I don't like how it looks like. Doesn't look nice, but I'll show you some beauty once I'll just pass by this scaffolding. So it will end soon, and I'll show you the beautiful buildings around me. I love this building, you see. I told you very interesting so far. Thank you, Checo. I told you that St. Petersburg looks very European, and I just want to show you the buildings. You see very European vibes, not Russian architecture. This building, for example, reminds me like Italy, like Italian palazzo. Let's check. I promised you the tour of the beaten path. So I just want to check. Yeah, I can come here. So it's just exclusive tour. Thank you, Anna. This is the closest I'll get to see Russia. Thank you, Pablo. I promised you the tour of the beaten path. So that's why from the street. And I'm so sorry. I will try to speak a little bit quieter because there is a god here in this area. So the tour of the beaten path, where we are now, I'll show you. We are inside like one of the buildings of St. Petersburg. So you see there is a fireplace, and this entrance to the building is very beautifully decorated. So a little bit of prehistory. Once you see all these beautiful buildings, like we are walking along the street and all buildings look like palaces, historical, constructed in the 19th century. All these buildings historically had two entrances. The first entrance, we call it nowadays like main entrance, or we call it paradnaya in Russian. They were used by nobility. So this was how the noble people entered their houses. So I'll show you again and I will explain you. Just imagine a noble person came to his house. This is the first door that we entered. And in between the first and the second door, there is the fireplace. The climate of St. Petersburg is cold, and always and each and every main entrance of St. Petersburg, there is the fireplace that was heated. There was a doorman who opened the door, and you see, this is just the entrance, but it's so beautiful. You know, just let me know in the chat, like, do you have time? Because I have an idea to go upstairs and to show you how the stairs is decorated. So I will try to. I don't know whether they will allow me or not, but you must see this. Добрый день. Закрыто, а на второй этаж нельзя подняться?
Не надо, все 19, уже все закрыто.
Хорошо, я тогда у вас поснимаю просто пингвина. So there is the guard here who told me that I can't go up. But again, I'll show you just a part of the decoration. You see, even the staircase, this is the staircase that goes upstairs. This is the house, was like a premium house because it was constructed at the beginning of the 20th century, but it had the elevator. And even the staircase is so beautifully decorated with the penguins and with the numerous details. And I will show you, I don't know English for this, but you see how beautiful. By the way, tell me in English, how do you call like this animal that we can see here for me to remember the word? You see how beautiful was the entrance. So, but I have to leave because unfortunately I can't go there now. So anyway, next time. Спасибо большое, до свидания. So anyway, this was the entrance for noble people. And a part of the fireplace and the doorman, they all had the red carpet. Walrus, I think, walrus, yeah, I think walrus. Of course, I know this word. And they had the red carpet. Of course, nowadays there is no red carpet, but anyway. But this was the entrance for the noble people. And the doors are historical. These wooden doors, from the beginning of the 20th century, they were of so good quality. I have to drop off, Anna. Please do another one. I truly enjoy this. Brian, thank you so much. So hope you will have time later. I'll save this live, and you will be you will have coming back to the entrances. But I told you there is always one but in the Russian history. There was another entrance that was used by the servants, because in the 19th century, you know, it's so interesting, but we usually don't think about it when we think about history. Yeah, now it's okay. So the servants, they used a different staircase to go up with the woods, to go up with water, because there was no running water. And a good news for us that I will pass through this inner yards today. I will try to, and I will show you how the servants, what kind of the entrances they used to come to the building, and what kind of the entrances people use to come to their houses. Because, you know, the interesting thing is, while we walk along St. Petersburg, and I'll show you a little bit like this, it will talk about the city center. Each and every building in the city center is so historical. There is so much history behind it. And when I'm touring with my tourists from all over, they say, wow, like the palace is on the right, the palace is on the left, and it's so beautiful. But where do local people live? Just tell me, do you have this question in your minds? And the thing is, people live in these palaces. But St. Petersburg, I just call it the city of the beautiful facade, because what is inside, I mean, it's better to say what is outside is not equal to what is inside, because from the outside you just see the beautiful buildings, the beautiful facades like this, but inside it's all the communal apartments. So I just made a video about the communal apartments in St. Petersburg, and you can watch one. So we'll cross the road, and I will show you a beautiful, while I'm crossing, there is a very beautiful steeple of the Admiralty building over there. I've seen that video, I really like it, yes. And that's how most of the people live in the city center. You saw that video. So hope you enjoy that one. So also I want to just show you another historical building, because this one, didn't know. I will look at that video. Yes, Jacob, please watch this video. I just really am proud of this video, and I think it will be interesting for you to watch it. So I just want to show you this historical building, because спасибо. This historical building, probably you all know about Fabergé. At least you've heard the name Fabergé, like Fabergé X. I will show you a little bit closer. Again, let me know please in the chat, because people think I'm talking with my phone. So how can I do this? So sorry. Fabergé. Yes, exactly. So now you see the name Fabergé on the screen. Oh, over here, yes, Fabergé in French, and here the name Fabergé in Russian. So it means that this is the exact place where the famous court jeweler Fabergé created all his famous eggs. And so the first floor with the big windows used to be his store for selling the eggs. Second floor, where you see the numbers, and the third floor was used as his workshop. And the last floor was used by Fabergé like as his house. Again, as far as I'm in St. Petersburg, and very impressive building, exactly. And I'm so excited, to have a chance to share with you. And I'm so excited to have such an audience as you, the audience that is interested in history, is interested in seeing St. Petersburg. I think that one day we can make a live tour to the Fabergé Museum where we can talk about the eggs, and where I can tell you a little bit more about the history of this court jeweler. But I'm sure you know about, at least you've heard about Fabergé eggs. Now I'll just tell you one fact that really surprises me, because I'm also a guide in the Fabergé Museum. And you know what? So we all talk Fabergé, 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 but in the reality, Fabergé by himself didn't create any single egg. Are you surprised? So he was just a very talented manager, a very talented director and PR director, like a marketing director. But all the eggs were made, the eggs are very famous, yes, exactly, the eggs are very famous. But all the eggs were made by his masters in his workshop. So just want to show you one more building that I really love. I mean, it will also, I'm sure it will amaze you. It's so beautiful. This is the building of the bank of the beginning of the 20th century, but now it's used as an office of our famous gas and oil company that is called Gazprom. So we'll go like this. And on the other side, there is a building that looks like, like a Soviet style architecture. This is the building of our St. Petersburg University of Technology and Design. And at the moment, I'm a little bit excited, because this is the first time, even for me, walking the same routes after coming back from the south. Here on the corner of the street, there used to be a very big and famous McDonald's with the huge lines. So let's see what happened with these McDonald's together. So one moment, I'll show you. Here, MacD, but no lines here, so closed. You can't believe, so there are huge lines. I even can't tell you how big they were, but you see everything is empty inside. And what is written here? It's written here in Russian that at the time they stop their work in Russia, but they hope to get back, and they just write that this is a temporarily. So everyone hopes to come back. So anyway, we will come soon to the Winter Palace, to the Palace Square, and I just feel see the number of people. So once you are getting to the Palace Square, is getting the number of people is getting more and more and more. It's getting more and more crowded. I see that there are a lot of tourists. Do you miss McDonald's, Anna? No, actually, I don't miss McDonald's. Oh, by the way, guys, so we talk about McDonald's and fast food. In one of my videos about St. Petersburg, my vlog about St. Petersburg, I showed you Russian fast food that is called Teremok. And not far from McDonald's, there is a Teremok, Russian fast food. You see? And there are so many people inside. So Actually, I'm thinking to make you a video about the Russian fast food. I'm not a huge McD fan, but honestly, I love coffee. I used to love coffee from McD much better, for example, than from Starbucks. Yeah, Starbucks is also closed. I will show you in the city center there were a lot of Starbucks coffee shops. Yeah, maybe it's a good thing. It's unhealthy. Yeah, it's unhealthy. You know, Russian people there, uh, it looks much better and the food is much healthier. Yeah, you can check in my videos. I just showed their blini, like Russian pancakes. So we are coming. I have to turn my camera because now we are coming to the main street of St. Petersburg, Nevsky Avenue. It's so crowded and I think it's quite noisy here. You see, there are so many people. And we have to cross the road over there, and I will go inside that arch to get to the Palace Square, and there are so many people around me. And you can see here in the streets of the city we have two flags. The first one, white, blue and red, is the Russian flag, and the other one, red flag with the two crisscrossed anchors, is the flag of St. Petersburg. So let's cross the road together. Let's cross the road together. And let's head to the Palace Square. I will show you, you know, not so much of history, but now we're gonna feel the vibes of the city. We're gonna feel the atmosphere. See, there are so many tourists here, you know, just painting the pictures. Just the touristic stuff. Just the touristic stuff, so painting the pictures. A lot of tourists, and we are heading to the arch. So this is the new museum, even for me, I haven't seen it, so it's opened just recently, about Tutankhamun, like about the Egyptian mummies and things like this. So let's feel the vibes a little bit. So in spite of the fact we are coming to the Palace Square as the tourists, we'll get back from the Palace Square as the locals because we won't use this main entrance to the Palace Square. I will show you something more different. Oh wow, I'll show you. Over here there are red banners with the 9th May. So soon I told you about the Victory Day. So here are the banners because the Palace Square we are heading to is the main square of St. Petersburg, and it is used for all the parades, big concerts and the city events. So the big parade on Victory Day will take place at the Palace Square. Beautiful arch, yeah, exactly. So now it's time to thank you for doing the tour. Thank you for joining me. So now let's pass through the arch and we are coming to the real beauty. I wish you were here. I wish you were here next to me and, you know, could see it with your own eyes. Oh my God, I have a goosebumps. So beautiful. Wow. Wow, it's even wow for me, you know, I'm really impressed. Здесь. So I'm just keeping silent because it's so noisy and I don't want to scream. Plus, I just want you to feel the atmosphere of the city. So now finally, welcome guys to the main square of St. Petersburg. Pretty sky, amazing, you know, I'm just amazed. And I want to tell you honestly that in my camera it looks even better than in the reality. So I will look into my camera. And Palace Square is so crowded. Usually it's not that crowded, but again, because of the holiday, because of the number of tourists who came to visit the city, you see there are the girls dancing. Probably it's like the rehearsal of something. Probably it's like a TikTok or something like this. So let's watch. And this is the people in the costumes of the 18th century. They're coming here for taking the pictures. Girls dancing. So there's a lot of life here. Exactly, Brian. Huge pedestrian plaza. Huge pedestrian plaza. So I will try to find a place not that crowded and not that noisy, because you see all this crowd over there. It's just the people who are listening to the street musicians. St. Petersburg, you know, is a very romantic city with a lot of artists, with a lot of musicians. Can you show the ground for a second, please? Of course, Pablo, everything for you. This is the ground. This is the ground. And let me show you the whole Palace Square. Honey. So please let me know, are you ready for the history or you're a little bit tired and we will just keep the tour, we'll keep going, or have I stop here? Everything for you. Yeah. Man, a lot of work for that. Exactly, a lot of work. But I told you there was a free labor in Russia till 1861, till we abolished serfdom. Up to you. Historical places. So the main square of St. Petersburg, the Palace Square. Why it is called Palace? Because of the palace that we see just in front of us. This is the Winter Palace. Oh guys, I have a goosebumps every time all over my body while I'm standing next to this palace, because this is what is left suitcase. I will show you that suitcase in Fari. This is the main palace of the Russian Empire. This is the main residence of Russian royal family. All main decisions of the country took place exactly in this building. Look how huge it is. Look how grand it is. And the color, yes, it looks so elegant. Brian, very good question about the rooms, you know, because this palace was constructed for our empress. Her name was Elizabeth, and in Russian history she was known as fashionista. What do I mean? In her wardrobe she had 15,000 dresses, and it's believed that she never wore the same dress twice. So 15,000 dresses. Never wore the same dress twice. Every day she was, and several times a day she was changing the dress. And many people, it really shows the power of the empire. Exactly, Colin. And you know, many people, you know, they have a joke that such a grand palace was constructed to keep all her dresses, because once the palace was finished, it had 1,500 rooms. 1,500 rooms. But Elizabeth, she said that she constructed this palace not for herself. But like, why? Why do I need this huge palace? I construct this palace for the glory of the Russian Empire. And I think she managed to show the glory of the Russian Empire. Plus, I want to show you one detail. On top of the Winter Palace, you can see numerous sculpture. But this sculpture is not for just for the decoration. This sculpture is for hiding pipes, heating pipes, because the palace is called Winter Palace. So it means that the imperial family used it in the winter times, and it took 8 years to construct the palace. Not actually so long, because St.Isaac Cathedral, and by the way, we can see St.Isaac Cathedral, it's a huge dome from the palace square, it's over there, took 40 years, and this palace only 8 years. I'm just coming a little bit closer to the main gate, the main entrance, for you to see the emblem, the coat of arms of Russia, double-headed eagle with the imperial crown on the top. So here now you see there is a preparation for the parade. You see this, it's on the ground, there is a stage, it's written here, Victory, May 9th. I told you about the parade. So a little bit more about the buildings over here. I want to pay your attention at this huge and the longest building, the yellow one on the Palace Square. This building is called the General Staff Headquarters, and it's one of the longest buildings in St. Petersburg. It's about 1 kilometer long, because it starts here, stretches along. Does anyone still live in the palace? Thank you so much for the question, because I forgot to mention. Thank you so much, you really helped me. I forgot to mention that after the revolution, when the last Russian Tsar Nicholas II was assassinated, the palace was nationalized and turned into a museum that now is called the Hermitage Museum. The Winter Palace is the main building of the Hermitage, and the whole Hermitage consists of 9 different buildings that are all interconnected with one another. So this is the Winter Palace, and over there you see light green building, yellow building, it's all Hermitage, and all together there are 9 buildings of the Hermitage. You can watch my actually video. I made a tour in the Hermitage Museum, and I started the tour in the Winter Palace. I showed some rooms of the Winter Palace. I showed the throne room. It's so beautiful, it's so grand. So please watch this video, and I hope you'll like it. So again, thank you for the questions. And I'll come back to the General Staff building, huge long building with a triumphal arch, and we just came to the Palace Square through this arch. Again, this arch with the chariot on top was constructed after the war with Napoleon, just to glorify the Russian Empire. I'm hypnotized by the color. I'm sure you'll be hypnotized by St. Petersburg once you will have a chance to come here. And I want to show you this column. This is the tallest monolithic column in the world, in the whole world. And the same architect probably is just reminds you the columns of St.Isaac. Again, St. Isaac is over there. You can see the dome. Here there is the column, because the same architect who constructed St. Isaac installed the column in the middle of the Palace Square, again to commemorate the victory over Napoleon. The name of the column is Alexander column, because Alexander was the name of the Russian emperor who defeated Napoleon. The most interesting thing about it is that this column is not fixed on the pedestal. It's huge, but it's not fixed on the pedestal. It weighs 600 tons, and it stands just under its own weight. And you see how crowded the Palace Square is now. There are so many people here. But in the 19th century, there was no one, literally no one. People were scared that the column can easily fall down. That's why the architect, he made one very interesting trick. Every day he was walking around the column together with his dog, just to show people that he did everything right and the column will not fall. So on top you can see the angel with the cross. The angel symbolizes our emperor Alexander the first, and people say that he has a face of Alexander. But you know, you will be surprised. Guess who they wanted to install on top of the column instead of angel during the Soviet times? So I'm waiting for your guessings. Here in the middle of the Winter Palace, instead of angel, they wanted to install who? So waiting for you guessing. Enough. Stalin, almost another Lenin, exactly. Instead of, and it was the project like this, instead of angel, they were planning to install Lenin. I mean, it sounds awful, so I'm happy they didn't do this. So, and you asked me about this huge suitcase. You know, actually this is a quite new project. It was installed only yesterday and it will last only for 3 days. Tomorrow will be the last day, and inside this suitcase there are different installations about St. Petersburg. Plus this year we will celebrate 350 years since Peter the Great was born, and there are some just exhibitions dedicated to Peter. So, but we'll keep going. We will leave the palace square. So I still hope to reach the church on the Spilt Blood during today's live. So we will leave the palace square. Fantastic, exactly. So I'll show you more streets. So let's say goodbye to a beautiful palace square. Again, I will show you the breathtaking view, the Alexander column, beautiful stunning sky, the Winter Palace. So, and we are leaving. We are going to the different historical places. How does the square look at night? So it means that we have to make another live at night for me to show you. You know, telling you honestly, usually when I was touring, like normally before the COVID, we had the day tour, and we had a night tour, because at night St. Petersburg looks completely different. Each and every historical building is very beautifully enlightened, and I mean it worth seeing. Plus since last week, or I suppose last week, they started the navigation, and it means that they open drawbridges of St. Petersburg. We have 12 drawbridges, and at night time they just opened very beautifully enlightened, and it's a kind of the show. It starts at 1 a.m. Probably if it will get a little bit warmer, and once white nights will start, I'll make either video or a live from the opening of drawbridges, and you will see how square this palace square looks at night time. Thanks for showing us around. Yeah, thank you so much for joining this tour. And again, if you want to support me, support my channel, and support what I'm doing, I left the links to PayPal that works. It's my friend Irina, or Patreon. So now I just want to turn the camera. We're gonna cross the road. This is a Kempinski hotel. Hotel Moika 22 Kempinski. Moika is the name of the river, and I'll show you a very beautiful view, because St. Petersburg is known as a Venice of the North, Northern Venice, or Venice of the North. 65 rivers and canals we have in the city, and as far as I told you, the navigation already started, so people can have a tour in the boat, and it's so romantic. And even the bridge, you know, I'm standing to, is a work of art. I'll just show you, it's iron work. You see how beautiful it is. Actually, this bridge is known for its iron work. It's like a laces. So each and every year, even the citizens of St. Petersburg, they have a boat tour because I mean it's so romantic. And the bridge I'm standing at, so here is the bridge, is one of the widest bridges of St. Petersburg, because you see only over there, I'll try to, over there, there is the end of the bridge, there is the other side of the bridge, and the whole area that people think is a parking or the road. In the reality, it's not the parking, it's not the road, it's the bridge. The widest bridge of, one of the widest, I would say, the bridge of St. Petersburg. So again, Kempinski Hotel. And now I will show you a very non-typical, non-touristic view of the Palace Square from the special point. So I came to the point. Go, yeah, I go. So it will be non-touristic view. You see, this yellow building is still a general staff headquarters. So you saw this building over there on the Palace Square, and again you see it just turns to the corner and stretches along the embankment, how long it is. And from this side, it's like, you know, an iron building. I call this building, for me, it's like a piece of cheese or a piece of cake, whatever. So, and again, you can see the whole view. You can see the Alexander column, and over there is the Winter Palace. And this is the non-touristic route how you can get to the Palace Square. So you can see that it's not that crowded. Cheesecake, yeah, it's not that crowded as it used to be. So, and now we will tour of beaten paths, because we will go inside the inner yard of St. Petersburg. So in front of us there is a beautiful building. This is a chapel. This was a choir chapel, the historical building, because you know, back then during the Tsar's time, imperial times, there was no YouTube, there was no TV, and the Tsars were entertained by the singers. And there was a special choir chapel organized and constructed not far from the Winter Palace. So today I think there is a concert, and all these people, they are going to the concert. Reminds me Vienna architecture. So, but for us, what's interesting for us, we will pass through the system of the well yards, the system of the inner yards of St. Petersburg, and I will show you how locals live. And more than that, I'm not going to... Karina, you know more about the architecture in your home that I have. Thank you so much. I will take it as a compliment. So, passing through the well yards. As far as I promised you, I will show you how people of St. Petersburg live. People, I mean, in the city center, how they park their cars, where do children, you know, where they have a walk, where they have a free time, and I'll show you the contrast. Very important point for you. I want you to understand. I believe that, you know, St. Petersburg, it's you know, it's like a Gemini. I would talk about these zodiac signs, and I'd also tell that St. Petersburg is the city of the beautiful facade. You know, it's like the same with the people. You never know what is inside that person, and the same as with St. Petersburg. You see the beautiful building from the outside, but it doesn't mean that the same will be from the inside. So, and now I'll show you the inside, the part that most of the tourists do not see. So I will turn back my camera. So I will remind you that I passed only 5 minutes from the Winter Palace, and we can see these types of the buildings over here. So coming back to my video about the communal apartment, I told there that 80% of the apartments in the city center are still communal apartments, and it means that people share a bathroom and the kitchen together with other families. So actually, you know, I see some changes because recently, like in winter, where I was in St. Petersburg, in this house, the last floor, there was a very old windows. It was definitely a communal apartment. Now I just paid attention that all windows are changed. I can see plastic windows, and I can definitely say that there is the hotel, like the apartment hotel over here. So you see, we're just passing from one yard to another one, and we passed like 5 different inner yards. And for the locals, it's an amazing way how you can escape, you know, the traffic jams. I mean, people traffic jams, and get to another street, because you will see we just started from the Palace Square and will come to a completely different street. So I want to show you this yard. I want to show you the windows and the buildings. Again, I want to show you one very surprising thing. You see over here, there are the windows, and you see that they are not changed. So very, very old windows, and you can see this teeny tiny people call it balconies, but in the reality, they are not balconies, guys. This is, guess what? Probably you had it in your country. Some people know, some people don't. This is the fridge. The fridge, refrigerator of the Soviet time. Back then, in the Soviet times, the first thing, yes, fridge refrigerators were expensive, but the second thing, that you have to stand in the line to get anything, to get an apartment, to get a car, to get a refrigerator. But people have to, you know, keep food, and they put the food out of the window. But in order birds couldn't get the food, they constructed these teeny tiny balconies for that. But people who live in the city center, you know, they still use these refrigerators, so they still work. So you know, this wall always surprised me, because you can see for cooling it's a good solution. Exactly. This wall surprised me because you can see the windows of the different shape, and they are just located on the different levels. So I'll tell you the story with the windows a little bit later, probably in my next live, because I want to come to the highlight of the tour, to the church on the Spilt Blood. And you see, we are just coming out from the well yards of St. Petersburg, and we'll find ourselves on the completely real refrigerator, or just outside. I mean, there is no refrigerator inside it, but refrigerator for keeping food cool. So you see, just passing through these well yards, I came to another street of the city. It's called the Big Stable Street. Why Stable Street? Because behind me, at the end of the street, there was the big Tsar's stable. So there were a lot of horses and a lot of carriages, and the stable was constructed not far from the Winter Palace. So this street is famous like a Fifth Avenue in New York. There's a Prada, but something tells me, yeah, it's closed. You see, everything is just in the window, but it is said that the store is closed. But anyway, for the technical reason, I think it's not because of the sanctions. So interesting. So anyway, it's just first time for me on the street after I came back to the city. Everything even new for me. So, but before, you know, all this started, before all the sanctions, The street was known as the Fifth Avenue of St. Petersburg, with a lot of boutiques, with a lot of fancy stores. It's not that big, but you won't see this big architecture in the city. See Swiss watches. And this is the atmosphere. And remember, I told you that in comparison with Moscow, that is a very green city, St. Petersburg is a stone jungle. And while we are walking, we haven't seen like the first park was in front of St.Isaac, and the second I would see like a boulevard is over there in the middle of this street, like a pedestrian path. Like a pedestrian path. So that's pretty it. That's why it was very difficult for people during the siege to survive. I was planning actually to show you one of our fast food, but I think we're just running out of time, and I'll better show you church on the Spilt Blood, because many of you requested. This store is a very famous one. You see this huge window. It's full of fancy brands like Dolce & Gabbana, Prada, Valentino, and things like this. So it's a very fancy store, fancy and expensive. So across the road, the church in front of me is a Lutheran one, and this is a Finnish church, because St. Petersburg, is supposed to be the city of all religion, and there is a sign that says that Christ is risen. So recently we celebrated Easter. And I want to show you that building of this fancy store from the other side of the road. So the building itself is also a historical one, so people shop in the historical buildings. Very unusual church. Yes, thank you, Colin, for reminding me about the church. The church is a Lutheran, and St. Petersburg is known as the city of all religion. As far as historically, in St. Petersburg, there were a lot of foreigners who came here, who came to construct the city, or later on, to earn money. And each and every society, people at the time were very religious. They constructed their own churches. Oh wow! I'll just show you one interesting thing. I want to take you to that place that is called Pishki, or Donut. It's very famous in St. Petersburg. It's a very historical place. But just look at the line. Oh my God! All these people you can see on the other side of the road are standing in the line just to get to this place to taste this pishka. A little bit story about this pishkas. This place. Why? I just want to explain you the line, because some people cannot understand why you should stay in the line just to get a donut. And once you will be inside, you will be surprised, because the atmosphere there is very like Soviet style. Like everything is very old. They don't have tissues. And again, line. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But the place is historical, and the pishkas, they sell pishkans since 1958. And for many people it's like a nostalgia feelings, and plus it's in all guidebooks, so that can just explain us somehow this line. But anyway, we will get back to this place after the holidays. Oh, you see, this guy jumped just, and we will go inside the inner yard. So we will walk as locals. I will show you non-touristic routes, because today the city is just really crowded. So we are in one more inner yard of St. Petersburg. I'm passing on the left, I'm passing the building of the school. This is one of the oldest school actually in the city. The school, it was a different building, but anyway, this building was constructed 1 year after the city was founded, and it's still functioning. So children study here German, and it's a very prestigious one. It's called Petri Schule. It's school in German, so it's still so difficult to get it. And oh my gosh, poor people, I mean poor students, poor pupils of this school, because this is their playground. So that's it, teeny tiny playground. We don't have so many, ground space in the city center. And we will pass through this gate to come to another street. Да, я слушаю. Извините, я занята. Do they lock those gates for the courtyards at night? Thank you for the questions. Some inner yards are closed, so you can never get to them because you should have a key, you should live in that area, but some doors are opened. And you should be a local to know which gate is open and which gate is closed. So, wow, guys, I'll show you, oh my gosh, how beautiful it is. We came to another street. This is a small stable street. So we used to be on the big stable street. This is a small stable street. You see, it's so European. There are tables on the street. So they opened like it's summer terraces. And in front of us there is the Kazan Cathedral, an Orthodox church, now the main cathedral of St. Petersburg. And the street itself, for me it just reminds Europe. Absence of gardens surprise you. I will just reply at the questions about the absence of gardens. Yeah, you see this just teeny tiny trees. That's it, nothing else. That's it. So actually we have to go in the opposite direction to get to the church in the Spilt Blood. That's why I will go that way, and I will explain you the absence of the trees and any gardens. So as far as in the 18th, 19th century, St. Petersburg used to be a capital of the Russian Empire. The price of land was extremely high. And all these buildings were constructed, all these houses were constructed as a tenement houses. So you can earn money, just by constructing the house. And that's why no one cared about parks, no one cared about the trees. Everyone cared just about money. I would say park, trees, and all this stuff is just to think of the 20th, 21st century when we want to have a nice, surrounding. But not back then. Definitely not back then. People just cared about money. Everything is so clean with no rubbish anywhere. Is the whole city like this? Yes, the whole city is like this. So the city is very well maintained by the government, and it's really very neat and clean. And it also surprises my American guests that we don't have homeless people on the street. And people, because when I'm touring, people ask me, and where are homeless? Like, where are they? But we don't have homeless. I mean, we have some, but we have the special institutions for homeless people. So they are just in the institution, guys. So I know that you are waiting the church in the Spilt Blood, and we are just coming. We are just in a few, I would say, seconds from the church in the Spilt Blood, and soon you will be amazed. I'm just turned to the corner. It's over there. So, wow. I'll cross the bridge for you. I will be able to show it much better, and we will come closer. So it's just a gem, I would say a gem of our tour, a gem of St. Petersburg, and a jewelry box. So let's cross the road. Yes, I'm able to do this. Thank you so much. Look at this view. Oh my God, so beautiful. And I like how it looks like with the canal. The church in the Spilt Blood, so I will go like this, and I'll tell you the history of the place, because in spite of the beauty, the name sounds very tragic. I remember one day I was touring. Great shot, yeah. I remember one day I was touring with American couple, and the woman told me that she's not going to see the church because she doesn't like its name. She said it sounds so cruel. I'm not going there. So anyway, in spite of the beauty, the church is constructed here because of the very, I would say, terrible events. I'll explain you the name. Church in the Spilt Blood. It means somebody spilled his blood. This church was constructed on the place of the assassination of the Russian Emperor Alexander II. In one of my videos where I told you why Russian people do not protest, I told you that there are two types of the czars that rule Russia, or two ways that you can rule Russia. To rule Russia with the carrot, or to rule the country with a stick. And I also managed that the czars who rule country with the carrot always fail. And And this church reminds us about the czar. His name was Alexander II, and he was known as Emperor Liberator because he was the one who abolished serfdom in Russia, 1861. Before that, we had slaves. He made a lot of reforms in the country, but despite everything good that he's done for the country, he had 8 attempts on his life. And March 1st, 1881, there was the last attempt, and the Tsar was killed. His carriage was driving along the canal, so I'll try to come closer to the canal. There will be the pedestrian area soon. So the carriage was turning from this street to the canal area, and one of the terrorists came to the carriage and threw the bomb. You know, it was a surprise, but fortunately the Tsar wasn't even injured. He went outside the carriage. He started to look around, like what's going on. He started to help injured people. But then the other terrorist came and he threw the bomb exactly under the Tsar's feet, and the bomb just tore off the Tsar's feet completely. He was bleeding, and he was immediately delivered to the Winter Palace, where he died in a very terrible tortures in a few hours. In the very next day, just to commemorate the Tsar, the chapel was constructed on the place of his death, and later on they started the construction of this church. His son, Emperor Alexander III, he was a fan of Russian culture, and he said that the church has to be constructed in a Russian style. That's why this church reminds me and reminds actually almost all Russians the Basil Cathedral in Moscow. Probably you saw Basil Cathedral in the pictures or somewhere, probably in the documentaries, and you can just message me in the comments. Does it remind you or not? But you know, this church is a very, I would say, symbolical and a very allegorical one, because the height of this church is 81 meters. I'll tell you in meters. Because the Tsar was assassinated in 1881. And the height of this bell tower, this golden one, you see this one with the gold, is 64 meters. It means that the Tsar was 64 years old when he was, yes, it looks very similar to me, for me as well, when he was assassinated. So plus, I will try to come closer to show you, because this church was constructed for the donations of the Russian people. You know, people all over Russia, they were so much shocked of the assassination of the Russian emperor, I mean, it was the first case, the first situation in the Russian history when Russian Tsar was assassinated by common people. There were coup d'etat. There were examples of coup d'etat in Russia, of the palace revolutions, but the palace revolutions, they started by the nobles. This is the first example. Then the Tsar was killed by the local. You see what I wanted to show you? Just behind this double-headed eagle, there is a wall with numerous plaques, and these plaques, squares, they have different pictures. So these are the coat of arms of the Russian cities that donated money for the construction of this church. So I'm sure we have to make one of the tours inside the church on the Spilt Blood, because it's so beautiful from inside. It's like, the biggest in the world museum of mosaic. All area of the church is covered with the mosaic. And a lot of, I would say, quite breathtaking. Actually, Brian, it's my favorite place in St. Petersburg. I mean, it's so beautiful. I just can't tell you how beautiful it is. I mean, you can see it, but in the reality, it's even look much better. And actually, there are a lot of miracles. When can one enter? I like the icons on the outside. So about entering, yes, nowadays this church works as a museum, and anyone can enter just buying a ticket. So, but I just promised to show you. Miraculous story. By the way, it's the whole ensemble, because in front of the church you can see this fence, and it's also beautiful. It was made by the same architect, and I'll show you one very, for me, interesting view to the church. You see there are a lot of city artists sitting next to the church in the Spilt Blood. So we'll just come inside the garden, and from the garden I will show you the view to the church. Ba-bam! Look how beautiful it is. And this view is non-touristic one, because not all the tourists know about this life hack. Looking at the church from the garden, and plus it's not that crowded from this side. So I'll just come a little bit deeper to the garden to finish the story about the church in the Spilt Blood. It's a little bit quieter here and not that crowded. So I'll stop somewhere over here. Gorgeous, yeah, completely agree with you. So just believe it or not, once we look at this church, we all are fascinated with the beauty. But during the Soviet time, the Soviet government, once came to the power, they said that this church doesn't have, I need your attention, any cultural or historical meaning. Just imagine, no cultural, no historical meaning. And in 1941, they were planning to demolish the church. They just put the bombs around the church. But once the war started, we can say that the war saved the church. Because of the war, they didn't have time, to think about the demolishment of the church. And during the Siege of Leningrad, so we talked a little bit about the siege, the church was used as a morgue for storing dead bodies. Because thousands of people just died on the street, and they put them all to the church in the Spilt Blood. Plus Nazis were shelling and bombing the city. And then it was a time for the miracle, because one of the bombs fell down and got stuck in one of the domes of the church. But it didn't explode. Actually, it's a miracle, because it didn't explode, and it was there in the dome for 20 years. Even more than 20 years, because only in the 60s or 70s, I suppose 60s, the sappers come to defuse the bomb. And there is the time for the miracle, because when the sappers defused the bomb, they realized, I told you that inside the church everything is a mosaic, and on that dome there was a mosaic of Jesus Christ with his two hands raised like this in a blessing, and the bomb got stuck under the right hand of the Jesus Christ. You know, in the Soviet time, back then, everyone was atheists. But because of this story, some of the people started to believe in God. And in Leningrad at that time, people were saying that God saved the church on the spilled blood. So guys, I think that we are coming closer to the end of the tour. If you have any questions, you can write them. I will reply with pleasure. You can write your feedback, you can write your impression or suggestions for the next lives. For me, it was my first experience, but telling honestly, I'm very excited and I'm very happy that I did this. I did this because I have so much energy after touring. So in spite of the fact I'm touring about like 2 hours, I have even more energy than I had before, and it means that I'm doing everything right. That's, you know, I'm sharing and I love what I'm doing. Thank you. It was Riktana. Thank you for the tour. Thank you so much. A great time. Thank you so much. So I think that we'll make this live our tradition, and again I will remind you about the links under my video. So if you want to support my channel, there is a link to PayPal with the name Irina, but Irina is my friend, and you can become my patron on Patreon. So I wish you to have a very beautiful day ahead. I hope I just gave you some inspiration and it was a kind of entertainment for you, and you got some, you know, new knowledge. You learned something from me. And you can have probably a little bit different view at Russia, because you know, we all have so many superstitions about each other, about people from the other side of the world, but during the tour you were able to see the history, the culture, you were able to see the people on the streets. So please take care and be safe, and I will see you in my next live. So thank you for joining me. Bye bye. Bye. Where is the next tour, Jeff? So the last question, I will announce it. I suppose that the next tour will be next week. So I hope you will agree with me. I want to make a tour about the Siege of Leningrad. Probably we even will be able to come to the museum of the siege, and let's have a look. So I will try to tell about the tour a little bit earlier than I did this time. So bye bye and take care. Have a beautiful day. Bye.